In this video, we are going to talk about preload and seat bounce, different line choices between 450 and 250, along with how sketchy that track was for SuperMotocross Playoff Round 2 there in Texas. Deegan was the fastest rider of anybody by 0.6 of a second, according to LitPro. We know that these guys don't lie. GPS does not lie. What we saw from Deegan was he was hucking some of the biggest sections of anybody in both classes. Here he was going outside in triple, double. Triple, then double out. And what he had to do was he had to make sure that that motorcycle was straight before he hit anything because of how sketchy the track was. It was concrete and it was blue groove and it was sketchy. You almost needed a slick, not a MX-14 paddle tire that works year-round, apparently. This was the Moto where he was running that. Moto 2, he ended up not running it, and he still won, where Tomac switched tires as well, and he ended up not doing as well as he did the first Moto. If we watch some of the other riders in the 450 class do the same section, we have Hunter, Jett, and Tomac. Watch, Tomac is using the same line as Deegan. However, he's slowing down. Look at how sketchy that is. Look at how blue groove that is. And notice that he is sitting down. He's catching his breath. He's going to double. Notice, he is going to sit down and seat bounce this sucker. Okay. Boom, to go triple. And then he was one of the only riders afterwards to then triple the corner bump where the majority of the guys were going double and then kind of wheeling over these next whoops there. Boom. It was clean. I really like that line. I think it was honestly faster than going the big triple, double because of the sheer fact that you are higher in the air. Therefore, power's not on the ground, even with Tomac slowing down as much as he did at the beginning of this section, right out of the corner, but he makes it up on the exit because now he's accelerating triple and then he's accelerating again. He's not slowing down. And for some fun comparison, in Moto 2, this was the line Deegan was using when he had that knobby tire on, not the paddle tire, and I'm guessing it was probably a fairly soft compound. Maybe it was the 32. And watch him, how he goes double. And then what did he do? He is standing up where we saw Tomac seat bouncing. Deegan is just going to push the frame down and then he's going to extend his knees straight. There he goes. Boom, to get the height on there. Different types of riding. This is actually a faster way of preloading because you're not going to quite get the distance as everybody, but you're still going to get a little bit of a bounce. And if you're not getting quite the distance, well, the wheels go on the ground faster and you are going to go faster. But he was one of the only guys I saw using his legs to preload here. There was another rider that was using his legs in a section that most guys were really setting up, making sure that they were straight. That was ironically right after this rhythm lane. You come around the tunnel and there is a gnarly triple out here. Well, look at Jett. Jett was the only rider that came around the corner and was just basically soaking it up. He had enough speed to soak this sucker up, standing up. Where the rest of the riders, if we look behind, watch Hunter and Tomac. Seat bounce. Make sure that they're straight to get some lift. Same thing with Tomac. And this is a sketchy section here because they are accelerating WFO, which if they do it wrong and they seat bounce and they lean forward, they're going to endo. So if you notice, whenever they seat bounce, then they're just standing straight up. Do you see how his butt moved back? Is what it looks like, but he's actually standing straight up. If he was to move forward, he would start to endo. Same thing with Tomac. Watch. Here, I'll slow it down and then we'll play it in real time. How his butt goes back. That is what you need to do in a fast section seat bounce, is you never lean forward. You're always somewhat leaning back, but you're actually just standing up on the motorcycle. Here, we'll watch that in real time. There is Jett just hauling butt and actually scrubbing it where everyone else is having to seat bounce it. And little Deegan doing the same, but ooh. Did you see how hard he has to seat bounce that? Before, look at him. Pelvic rotation in the hips. He's back on the motorcycle. Boom. And then he stands back, but it looks like his butt is leaned back, not leaning forward. Beautiful example on how to do it correctly. And a lot of riders were doing that over this triple across the start. Watch Deegan as well. Boom, seat bounce. There was lots of areas of seat bouncing. This was a cool section just because you had that landing somewhat of a triple. But then then you have these blue groove patches where the track had concrete on the bottom, but then it had marbles on top, which made it incredibly sketchy. Good segue to today's video sponsor, Coach Rob, and he has a selection process with his amateur development program that is going on this month. Make sure you go to CompleteRacingSolutions.com/sponsorship so you can get less sketchy, because you're not only going to get some of the riding technique, but you're also going to get all of the nutritional advice, the workout advice, so you don't blow your engine up. I'm meaning internally. Make sure you go check him out. He has had some incredible elite riders like Adam Cincerillo go through his amateur development program. Jeremy Martin, Styles Robertson. Again, go to his website, click on that sponsorship, fill out the form, and see if you get picked. The best passes of the race was made by Eli Tomac when he was going beast mode. And this was in the sand. And I don't know how he was able to do this with this paddle tire. Again, we guys all know my view on this paddle tire. It's an all-around tire. But entering the sand, he was able to cut low and then keep the traction by weighting that outside peg and get underneath quite a bit of riders. Here, he is getting around Ken Roczen. But notice that, how he's weighting that outside peg. His butt crack is on the left of the seam of this. He's holding the motorcycle so that he doesn't low side and that front wheel doesn't wash. And then he does a beautiful job just drifting around and then block passing Ken Roczen. Beautifully executed. One of the only riders that ends up pivoting early in the sand, not going all the way around, but creating his own line. This is one of those things where experience pays off. I don't like to see was some riders, Ty Masterpool and Jordan Smith, crashing on this over-under jump. This was sketchy. And why was it sketchy? Because it is at an angle. When you have a blue groove and they are going to scrub this kind of stuff, well, for one, when you put a jump in the middle of a corner or at an angle, it creates just a one-line section to begin with. But then if you add this giant tabletop that is straight up and straight down, almost at 90 degrees, well, it makes it even more dangerous. I like these. However, I do not like them when they are at an angle, because here, we will watch Ty come over here and crash. I do think that this possibly could have been avoided because of the watering of the track. And like I said, you have man-made structures here that's going to be slipperier than just the concrete down below on the dirt. But then when you add marbles on there and blue groove, and like I said, this one-line jump here, it is going to create accidents for guys, because here's another angle at it. You can see how this sucker is just one line. Guys are not going to the outside, they're going to the inside, and then they're scrubbing it, and there's the blue groove. Okay, it's one of those sections where we could learn from this for sure, because the sport does a pretty good job. And last, we're going to listen to Stewart commentate, but I want you to pay attention to Hunter Lawrence's motorcycle, how he is going to get on the gas where he should be just wide open, but no, because of the conditions and how slippery it was, he's having to use the motorcycle way low, and he's just around. So listen.
Talking about just the suspension parts makes everything really rigid. It's almost like having a jack. I was talking about just the suspension parts makes everything really rigid. It's almost like having